In this video, I'll be talking about the differences between a monofilament line and braid line. I'll talk about hooks, sinkers, and then I'll be visiting my local Kmart and Big W store to show you what kind of fishing gear and what kind of fishing tackle they have. There are a lot of differences between the monofilament line and the braid line. The monofilament line is usually what you get on cheaper combos, combination rod and reel, but it is the standard fishing when it comes to live bait fishing. Now it is a basic line. It's made out of some kind of a plastic material. The line itself, in terms of the positives, it's cheap. It is more abrasive resistant, so meaning that if it rubs on the rock, it will last a bit longer than the braid. It is thicker though, and that's one of the negatives, and you can't have as much line. There is stretch on it, so it'll allow you to fight the fish. It'll allow the fish to pull hard on it, so there is benefits in that, but also whenever it gets stretched, it has a stretch memory, so that stretch will stay there. As opposed to the braid line is obviously thinner. There's a choice between, I think, 8 strand or 4 strand. 8 strands obviously got more strands and it is preferred. It's thinner, so you can get more line. However, there's less stretch. There is basically no stretch, and what that means is that if the fish is pulling very hard and you rub on something or rub on a rock, it instantly would snap the line. So there are benefits in terms of getting more line, and it's also a stronger line for its size in terms of the width compared to the mono. But there are also negatives. In terms of the lines that I use, and for monofilament, I use the Berkley Big Game IGFA class, 15 kilos on my overhead reel. It's 1,200 meters, and for something like this, it probably costs you about $60 to $80. I also have the Berkley XWR, 50 pounds, and it's about 24 kilos. It's 500 meters. This is around $40 if you get it from BCF. And I have a $10. I don't know how much I bought this for. This was a 8 kilogram one. Again, most of these monofilament ones that I have is for backing when I put on the leader. So when I put on the braid line on my reel, so I use it as backing. I'll explain that in the future video. For the braid, I have the Rovex D8. It's a depth finder braid. It's got different colors, so you know how far, or how deep, or how much you're reeling in. For this much, there's 1,200 yards on this. It's about $100. But on my Saragosa 8000, I have the Veravas Avani, which I got from Shinshin Fishing. Veravas Avani P4, and that was for 300 meters. It costs around $120. It's quite expensive. It's probably one of the best line you can get for that price, mid-range. I do also prefer the Sunline Super PE. Sunline doesn't make them anymore. They're quite cheap. They're about $60 for 300 meters. And the new version of them, I think it's called the Seglion. I don't really like it, so I don't use it. So I've gone to Veravas. In terms of leader line, I prefer the Black Magic for the thicker lines, and the Sunline FC Rock for the thinner or the lighter fishing. I do also use Genkai. They're quite good also. But Black Magic is easier to access, and I'm kind of used to it. I like the stretch of it, and it's easier to make a knot on these. I've used all the other ones, Pen and all the other ones, but yeah, I do prefer the Black Magic. It's just, it does leave, it has more of a memory when it stretches, so if you put it on the line and it's bent, it'll stay bent. and that's probably one of the negatives. But overall, it has a good stretch, especially using braid. This gives you more stretch and allows you to be able to fight the fish longer. For the lighter fishing, I use the Sunline FC Rock. These have been pretty good. You get quite a lot of line for the price. You get these for about $24. And the Black Magic, if I'm not mistaken, is about $60 to $80. They're quite expensive. These ones here, the FC Rock, you get quite a lot of line. You get 100 meters for the $24. There are cheaper ones, but you get less line. I use mainly 3 types of hooks: bait holder, the live bait hooks, and the circle hooks. One thing you need to know about hooks is the sizes. When you go smaller in number, so size 2/0 or 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, 5/0, it actually becomes bigger. The hooks are actually bigger. But if you go from 0 up, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it actually goes smaller. Now I don't know the logic behind it, but that's the way it is. With the bait holder, they've got some grooves or little sort of barbs on the side that allows you to hold the bait. So I use pillies, pilchards, or I use prawns, and that holds it there. So it's been really good for me. I use the size 2/0 for that. For the live bait hooks, they're designed with a really thick gauge. They're designed with a really thick gauge. So it's designed so that it holds the live bait fish on there. It's also a thicker gauge so you can fight bigger fish, and it's quite a strong hook. Now this one here is the Mustard Hoodlum. This is my preferred, and it's quite cheap. So for both, they're about $4 a pack. For the bait holder, you get 7 for about $4. For the live bait, you only get 3 or 4. This is quite a big size, it's 10/0. But I usually use between 6/0 to 10/0, depending on how big the live bait is. And the final hooks is the circle hook. Now this one is an example, the Mustard Demon circle hook. But actually for my live baiting, I use the Owner Octopus circle hook. Now these have been really good. So circle hooks have a smaller gauge, but they're perfect for live baiting because you just leave it there. Once the fish takes the bait and it hooks up, you don't need to set it. So you don't need to pull the rod. You just let the fish run, and it will sit onto the side of its mouth, and then you'll fight the fish. Now this one's set up with a wire trace. I won't go through the wire trace, I'll do that in a future episode. And this is for fish that have sharp teeth. I'll talk about that in future, but the circle hooks have been something that I've been starting to use more often, and yeah, it's been good. Sinkers. The main type of sinker is the ball sinker. They range from size 00, 000, I think, which is the smallest that I use actually for bream fishing, all the way up to I think size 10. Big ball sinkers. You get really big ones also for boats, but we won't talk about that today. But I do use these small sinkers for small type of fishing. There's also the Star Sinker, good for beach fishing. The sinker will actually fall onto the sand bottom, and then it will just leave the bait there and stay there because of the way it's shaped. Then the one I've got here is I think it's called a drop sinker, mainly used on boats for bream fishing, which I really do anyway. There are other types of sinkers, but I don't use them. So as you can see, I'm walking into Kmart at the moment and heading towards my favorite section of Kmart, of course, the fishing and camping area. Everything is here, as you can see. Got the pliers there, there's a net, you can see an aerator, there's lures, there's squid jigs, you can see the rods. Let's take a look at a few of these. These are what you call a combination or combo. This one's not too bad. Actually, I like this one. It's a Jervis Walker Ultimate. It's not bad for a first reel and rod if you're looking for one. It's $49. And there's another one here, little one. I'm not even sure what that is. Looks kind of weird. So $39. They have all the lines that you need. You got the braid, got the mono, Jervis Walker Hercules. These are not too bad. These braid lines. Don't know about the mono. I've never used it before. There's some leaders there, Hercules leaders. I don't really like the Jervis Walker Hercules. They're a bit stiff. Yeah, not my preference. Sinkers here, there's available. It's not much of a choice. It looks quite empty. And there's hooks. I've tried the hooks. Not too good, guys. I'd rather use the mustards. And a couple of tackles. There's lure boxes and hook removals. There are quite a bit of things here that you can get, but a lot of it is empty. It's quite popular. People do come here and buy quite a lot of things. I buy a lot of my bait jig from Kmart, and I'll speak about bait jigs next time. And this time around, I bought a sinkers, split sinkers. Split shots, I think they're called. What it is the sinkers, instead of having a hole through them where you can put the leader through, it just clips. You can clip it onto something, clip it onto a line or a leader. These are floaties, ball floaties. I use these for bait jig, for catching bait fish. They work really well for me. Now let's go to Big W. Another local shop that I go to that's that I like going to. A bit more expensive though than Kmart, but not by much. We've got a lot more choice. Not as much. There's not as many people who go and buy from Big W. I think Kmart is more popular. So there's a lot of leaders there. You just saw me holding a Rovax leader. It's got bait jigs here, lures. Sinkers. As you can see, they've got a lot more tackle and a lot more things to choose from. Got nets if you need any nets. Now I was looking for a bigger floaty, and I managed to find one here. So like I bought the ones from Kmart, but this one was just almost double the size. Obviously the bigger the floaty, the better you can see it in the water. That's another floaty there. They're kind of metallic color. They've got the Yabby pump. I struggled to find these before in Big W, but they've got heaps of it at the moment. And it's going for $49, so it's not that cheap. You can get the same price from BCF. Probably a better brand also. They've also got combinations here, combos, tackle boxes there. Yeah, everything that you need. I ended up getting a telescopic rod and reel for $15, quite cheap. But yeah, that's what I got, guys. So Kmart and Big W. Thank you for watching. Keep watching and wait for my next video.